Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to a new stream. New stream, new schedule. Had to switch around. Corona put Belgium in a lockdown, which means we have to move around with the schedule for the kids' sake. So welcome to the stream. So Link Friday is now Tech Thursday. So every Thursday we'll go over every link that I thought was interesting in the past week related to something tech, PHP, Symfony, or any other web development stuff. So I've got around, let's have to check. I have 10 links since it's been 2 weeks since the last stream. And so we've got some things to have a look at today. I'm going to start with something PHP related. So I hope you're all doing well. Sit back, relax, and let's have a look at the different links that I gathered this week. So first up is PHP8. As some of you may or may not know, PHP8 is going to be released soon. I'm not sure when, but it's not that long anymore, I think. And this blog post, which I'll share in the chat, has come across one of my feeds, and it gives a perspective from a developer on why PHP8 will be awesome. So I'm not 100% sure yet what is in PHP8. I still have to check it out. So I'm hoping this post will give us a little bit more insight into what PHP8 will contain. So let's check. So there's of course disclaimer, personal selection, non-exhausting list. Makes sense. Small details, great features. The class available for objects. So you don't have to do get class anymore on the objects. You can do that directly with double point class. That's actually very interesting. It solves. I think that also makes a lot more sense. That's a lot easier to get classes of certain objects instead of the whole get class. I'm wondering if this is also much faster then. Let's see at the source. Let me also make it a little bit bigger for you guys so it's easier to read. This one is actually pretty big, right? But this one is not. So the RFC for the allow class on objects. So it's actually been introduced in PHP 5.5 to allow fetching a class name as a string. It's syntactically similar to a class constant access. Programmers intuitively expect the syntax object class to work as well, and provide the same results as get class. Interesting. So that would be indeed a nice. This has been voted yes unanimously. That's nice. So that means soon we'll be able to do this little magic thing instead of doing get class. Trailing commas for parameters. So in arrays, of course, you can put the extra trailing comma so that it's safe to add stuff for future development, but you cannot do it with method parameters, but apparently in PHP8 you can. That is also very interesting, but what would be a use case of this? So the RFC proposes to allow an optional trailing comma in parameter lists. this is already supported for argument lists. So you have construct, string scheme, argument, and then fragment, and then it stops. This constructor has too many parameters to place all of them on one line, at least under conventional coding standards. The PSR12 recommends to use the formatting above instead, which makes sense, because it adds to the readability instead of one long line. It kind of disappears from your editor. Unfortunately, it's not possible to place a trailing comma. This breaks uniformity and results in larger diffs when an optional parameter is added. That makes sense, because if you have one and you add another one and it's in this PSR12 format, I don't recommend the format, you would have to add the trailing comma to the last parameter and then add your new parameter below it. So that would indeed mean that your diff says two lines are at least changed in the constructor or in the method parameters because of the comma which has been added and then the new one. And that can indeed be annoying sometimes, especially if multiple people are doing that, and then it gets a bit weird. I used to always adding a trailing comma for multi-line lists. From the array, I have the same thing. I do the same thing. Write the comma by default and then have to go back to remove it upon receiving an error. Totally get this thing. And that actually would be super nice. So the votes are... Did someone not vote in? Because it says 58 instead of 60. But at least almost unanimous. That's nice. That would be indeed a nice addition, especially for the Git stuff. That would be super cool. New magic string methods. So you would have string contains, starts with or ends with, which is better than the string position. It's also more verbose. Definitely says like contains, you know it's somewhere in the string, or starts with, you know it's at the start, ends is at the end. So that would indeed be nice to add these very logical named functions. Break things for the win. Oh, interesting. So PHP8 is going to throw a lot more. Hey there, Small Shedder. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Welcome. Much appreciated. So PHP8 throws more errors, and everything deprecated before PHP8 will be removed. Well, of course, that makes sense. New version, new major version. So deprecations from the 7 will, of course, be removed. But you have the @ operator, and it will no longer silence fatal errors. That is going to be very interesting. I think even WordPress still uses the @ operator. No, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do think there are a lot of code bases still using this. So once they upgrade to 8, there are no more silence fatal errors. That's going to be very interesting to see how most of those are going to work with this new, well, this change actually. And it's not a really, well, in theory it's not a breaking change, but because they're throwing fatal errors, it's gonna break the application, which then technically is a breaking change, right? So that's gonna be super interesting to see how many people will have to change their code base just for this @. As far as I know, I never use it. I mean, if you have a fatal error, it means something is really wrong, and I really need to catch that and handle that, because we tend to do like catch it, we put a log, like we use Sentry, for example, so we get a nice little error information in Sentry, and then basically we just give the info back to the end user saying, hey, something went wrong, cannot be processed, please contact support. And by the time they do and it gets to us, we already solved it because it's in Sentry. So that would be, but it would be interesting to see how others react to this. Super interesting. Then the fatal error for static calls of non-static functions. That is quite a mouthful. The following code already triggers some errors, but in PHP 8 it will raise a fatal error. Okay, that's interesting. Because it's indeed not a static method, so if you would call it, it would give an error, but apparently they're gonna up the game and make it a fatal error. Very interesting. I don't think that happens much because you already have the error. I think it's just to raise the awareness when people do this that, hey, this is not just a error, it's a fatal one. New default error reporting level, so EAll will be the default value. No more silent errors. I think that's a good thing. Those silent errors are like, you know, it's like sweeping your issues under the rug. It's just not the way to go. But again, it's the same as the add thing. It's going to be very interesting to see how some of the applications are going to work with. Of course, you can still change your default error reporting level. So, but it being the default is a nice up to the game. Very nice. Don't mess with undefined. Give me 1 second. Apologies, I thought I heard something, but it's false alarm. So PHP 8 will convert many warnings and notices into errors, for example undefined or division by 0. So they're really upping the game in 8 with, oh, accidentally touched the spacebar there. So they're really updating the error stuff in PHP 8, like really make it more tight. And I think that's very good for the growth of PHP. Like now, a lot of people are like making jokes saying PHP is like not usable because it's like playtime and stuff like that. And it's very weird. I just got to notice that the sound is cracking sometimes. Let me just... Which is weird because I actually got a brand new Elgato, so I hope it's not broken. I hope that is better. It could be that I'm having too high of a gain. Maybe that's the issue. Let's see if this improves it a little bit. If it's still cracking, let me know. So they're really upping the game for the error stuff, which is very interesting. Like I said before, lots of people laugh at PHP because it's like, and I get that, right? Because it's so easy to use, that it's also so easy to misuse. And building a nice, clean application takes, you know, a certain discipline from the developer to say, okay, I'm gonna nicely work with the errors, I'm gonna nicely do all of that stuff that needs to be done. While there are people who say, just throw an add in front of it, we don't care about small warnings and notifications, or notices, apologies. So I think doing this will hopefully up the game for the developers as well, and make PHP more the grown language that it is, or could be. So JIT. It's not possible to write any post about PHP 8 without celebrating the JIT birth. Just-in-time compilation should improve performances somehow. And before PHP 8, PHP executes code by converting it into instructions, opcodes, that the virtual machine wants. Now the JIT compiler converts PHP code into x86 machine code, which runs directly on the CPU. However, as Nikita Popov said, it will be significant for code that involves mathematical calculations, not the average code. I'm getting pointers that just turning the music a bit down. I hope that's better. Actually, I turned on the monitoring, and I indeed noticed that my voice is a bit low. And I hope, yeah, I think that's better. So the just-in-time compilation should improve performances. That's interesting. Because to my feeling, PHP is already a very fast language. But even improving performance even more is very nice, because certain stuff like WordPress, you can do really bad things that mess up the performance as well. So if this just-in-time compilation will help, it's going to be very nice. Then we have the killer features, according to the author. Union types. So it was only possible in the PHP doc. Yes, you could say int or float in the docs. But apparently now you can also write it in private, an int or a float being number. So you move more of the type information from the PHP doc into the function's signatures. That's interesting, because that also means we can lower the amount of PHP doc, but that has both advantages and disadvantages, because, you know, people use the PHP docs to generate your documentation. So if it's already in your parameter, then you don't really need it, right? So interesting to see how people will go with that. Let's see what the source says. The RFC. So a union type accepts values of multiple different types rather than a single one. Already supports two special union types, type or null, and the array or traversable with the iteratable. And then we can indeed do int float. Apparently that's our main example, the int float. Let me know if the sound is much better now, and if it's still cracking, because then I can play with the sound. So the use of union types is pervasive in the open source ecosystem, as well as PHP's own standard library. Supporting union types in the language allows us to move more type information from PHP doc into function signature. Now I'm hearing the cracking too. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm gonna add a quick to do to research why. That shouldn't happen with a brand new microphone. So yeah, it's very interesting. Mostly in float stuff, or with the null. That would also be interesting. But indeed, you can already do that. So this is all disallowed. Use as part of name, allowed. Okay. Interesting. Then, static return types. It will follow the same purpose as the static keyword. Your method should return something from the current or child class, not the parent one. So the current child class, not the parent. So if you have my class, my method, static, returns new static. I'm really not sure why the cracking sound is there. Bit annoying, right? So my apologies for that. And that's something weird though in the mixer. Alright, let's continue. Then throw is an expression. So now moving throw from statement to expression will allow the following usage in PHP8. So you have a condition or it throws a new exception. That's actually very interesting. That would make some of the code a lot more readable. So since in PHP, throw is a statement, it makes it impossible to throw exceptions in places where only expressions are allowed, like arrow functions, the coalesce operator and the ternary Elvis operator. This RFC proposes converting the throw statement into an expression so that these cases become possible. So now you could do like a callable as a function which throws a new exception. You know, I'm actually wondering if the cracking comes from the hub. The hub is pretty hot. Maybe that is the issue. Not sure. All right. So, for example, you could say my value is nullable value. If it's not there, throw a new invalid argument exception. Or if it's truly. The value is only set if the array is not empty. That's all interesting use cases. Alright. Cool. So that was the first one. I added it in chat. Let me quickly check what's next. So, one of the things that we celebrated last week is that Composer 2.0 is now available. Very interesting. So Composer is something super easy. It changed the complete game of development for PHP, and with 2.0 it's like even better. It's crazy. So they have a lot of changes, a lot of improvements. First and foremost being performance. That is very cool to see. So this is the yellow is Composer 1 and green is Composer 2. So that means for like 95 seconds of Composer, it now takes 39 seconds for Drupal, and for Laravel it went from just above a minute to like 12-13 seconds, and then Symfony, which was already fast, is now like half, maybe a bit less than half. So they improved it by roughly 60% less time. They also changed the architecture. So dependency updates are done internally was refactored, which for you will result in more deterministic updates. Current local state of the vendor directory will not interfere in updates anymore. After an update is complete, the install process is run automatically, and it will now execute all network-bound operations first. I'm just going to quickly lower the music a little bit more. Because I can hear it's way overwhelming. So that's interesting. And then they have runtime features, a platform check stem, gets initialized when which checks the current PHP version, and optional extensions. What is expected by your dependencies and fails hard otherwise. This is enabled by default, so make sure you read up on it to avoid surprises. So they added a new class installed versions, which is auto-loaded in every project and is available at runtime. Interesting. Then they also improved the error reporting, so kind of the same as PHP8. Improving a lot of things in the error, that's nice. Partial updates with temporary constraints. So you could just update one or downgrade a single package. And it will not update your require. Cisco's, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. That's weird. My command isn't working. Ah, nope, just slow. So for those who want to help me out, support the channel, you can also follow me on one of the socials. Sadly, my YouTube needs 100 subscriptions to get a custom URL, and I'm at 23, so I still have some way to go. But of course, I still need to make better and better content, but we'll get there. So what else is there in Composer? So we already saw this, so that's pretty nice. Your log file will not have issues, which happens every so often when you're trying to do stuff like this. So this is actually a pretty nice change. Now, how easy is it to upgrade? So they still support PHP 5.3. The Composer log files are interoperable, so you can go between them, it's fine. And most of the commands are the same. If you run self-update, it will warn you that a new stable major version is available, and you can use Composer self-update 2 to migrate to it. Interesting. I am actually gonna put this on my list to do for my clients, but I'm not gonna do it here because I cannot always show everything. Okay. So you can self-update to version 2, and if you have issues, you can do the same but with --1, and it goes back to your Composer 1. So you can actually nicely experiment, do your own, how do you say it in English again? You can check the speeds yourself and stuff like that. You can try it out, it's nice. Okay. And then of course there might be some issues. Backwards compatibility. Some plugins need to be updated to support the Composer 2, and not all of them are ready. So if it doesn't work, you just switch back to the one. You also have a platform check feature. So Composer checks the runtime PHP version and optionally available extensions to ensure they match the project dependencies. If a mismatch is found, autoloader exits with error details. But you can first run the check platform requirements. And then the repository priority. So if a package exists in a higher priority repository, it will now be entirely ignored in lower priority repositories. And then invalid PSR 0, PSR 4 configurations will not auto-load anymore. Okay. What are they going to do next? They're not sure. Well, that makes sense, right? So you just made a new version and you just want to see how that goes. So especially for something like this. So shout outs to the ones who are working on Composer, which is mostly Jordi. Not sure who else. I should know normally, yeah, but sadly I don't. But I know Jordi is working on it a lot. So that's pretty cool. And Niels. So Jordi Boggiano and Niels Alderman. Thank you so much. It is pretty cool. Let's see what we have next. Right. Next one is an interesting one if you work a lot with SSH. So, single sign-on SSH, a seamless SSH access zero key management. I like the zero key management. So it's the easy way for teams to SSH because you do not need to gather and ship rotating SSH public keys for all users and hosts. They use SSH certificates. You sign in through OAuth and are issued an SSH certificate for the day, stored in the memory. No more user keys scattered across your infrastructure. And you have an admin panel. So you type SSH and are sent to your identity provider. Okay. You log in. It's interesting. You can sync it with your IDP, so your identity provider. So they're automatically synchronized and used for SSH access control and compliance reporting. So you have access control, which makes sense. You have lifecycle management. That's pretty cool. So how does it work? So you have an end-to-end SSH workflow that marries modern identity profiles with short-lived SSH certificates and flexible access control. So at our core is the SEP CA, our open source certificate authority, and our STEP CLI toolkit that makes SSO for SSH a simple and elegant experience for users. So you just use SSH on your own machine like you usually do. And if it's the first session of the day, you get the identity provider single sign-on flow. And then you get a 16-hour certificate to cover your workday. If you work 16 hours, it's a bit much, no? But it's nice. So you have a seamless OIDC sign-in flow. Makes it easy to enforce your existing security policies, like multi-factor authentication with FIDO U2F security keys. I have to be honest here, this is a little bit, I don't know what this is. I'm not schooled in this part. Removing a user from your entity provider terminates their SSH access in seconds. And once you're logged in, your user gets a certificate and you're directly connected or through a Bastion host. That's super interesting. Not so much for me. I don't have a real use case for this, but if you manage stuff like this, it's pretty cool. All right, on to the next one. ksqlDB. Share the link. Event streaming database purpose built for stream processing applications. You know, I think the crackling comes because I'm too close to it. Like if I do this, not sure. I have to investigate further, but I can hear it sometimes. So what is this? Build applications that respond immediately to events. You receive real-time push updates or pull current state on demand. It's Kafka native. So with a push, Kafka. To deploy stream processing workloads. That's pretty cool. So you just need a few SQL statements. So you create a source connector called riders. You give it the info. And then you can just do create stream locations as select from emit change. Then you probably get your stuff. And then you can also do stuff like create table. And then you do select write ID promotions from active promotions. Oh, so this creates a table and then you can do a select on it. So you have streams, immutable, append only sequences of events. So useful for representing a series of historical events. Like tracking cars, because you would never change where a car has been. It's just following where they're going. And then you have tables, which are mutable, so you can change them, you can update them, and they let you represent the latest version of each value per key. Interesting. And then you have stream processing, enables you to execute continuous computations over unbounded stream of events ad infinitum. Transform, filter, aggregate, and join collections together to derive new collections or materialized views that are incrementally updated in real time as new events arrive. And then you can of course do queries, both push, let's just subscribe to a query's result as it changes in real time. So when you get new events, push queries emit refinements which allow you to quickly react to new information. That's nice. And then you also have pull, allow you to fetch a current state of a materialized view. Because they're incrementally updated as new events arrive, pull queries run with predictably low latency. So they're a great match for request response. That's actually pretty cool. So they have two different use cases. Like if you have a asynchronous use case, you just use the push. And if you just need it when you do a request response, you just do the pull one. It's nice that they have two different versions. So if your databases and your apps, connectors, and stream processing. Very cool. There was something where you could try it out. Jesus, the cracking is really, really annoying. Let me just quickly check. Apparently it's something that happens a lot. So apparently it comes and goes every 2 to 3 minutes. Interesting. So there are people who are saying you should change your USB port to 3.0. And there's some that says you have to change your settings. But the settings are not in the app of Elgato. You have to go into a settings.json file. But you have to like restart everything. So that's going to be for after the stream. I'm not sure if this hub has a... Because actually it used to work without cracking. And I think it changed when I switched to this hub. Now technically I can attach another hub which has 3.0. Too many gear. Too much gear. Oh my god, English. Where is the other connector? The other hub. I forgot where I put it. Where did I put it? Okay. This actually has USB 3. The only reason I switched is because this one, the Hutu, has no Ethernet port. And for streaming, I thought it would be much better to be on Ethernet instead of on Wi-Fi. But I'm gonna change this after the stream, and then hopefully next time it will be fixed. I just have to figure out which cable it is. But I'll do it after stream. And hopefully by next stream, no more crackling. Alright. So far for the intermezzo. Let's see what this does. The thing is, I don't have the Docker set up. I really need to prepare this stuff better. I need to learn Docker. All right. At least hopefully someone can do something with this. Looks interesting. Next up, I have no idea what this was. BubbleTea. What is BubbleTea? Fun, functional, stateful way to build terminal apps. Right, terminal. A Go framework based on the Elm architecture. BubbleTea is well suited for simple and complex terminal applications, either inline, full window, or a mix of both. That's actually pretty cool. Let me just make this a tiny bit bigger so you guys can read it. BubbleTea is in use in production, and includes a number of features and performance optimizations we've added along the way. So there are some examples and a tutorial. So they're gonna make a to-do app. So you get the T. So this is in Go. No. Is it? Yeah, because it's a Go framework. So you write this in Go, right? Something I haven't learned either. Then you make a model. So you have choices, cursor selected. So items where the cursors point to. Okay. You initialize. So you add some choices, which is an array of strings. And then you map, which indicates which choices are selected. Okay. And return null, which means no input output right now, please. You have an update method. So if there's a key press, what was the actual key? If it's this quit. So everything uses the T, which is nice. So that's the wrapper around it, so you don't have to do all of that. If it's up or K, you move the cursor up or down. If it's J, and then a toggle. Then you also have a view. Okay. And then everything together in the main. Let's see what people built with this. So Go. A render markdown on the CLI. It's interesting. And what was the other one? Charm tool. Username, and you link SSH keys. Manage your charm account. I have no idea what charm is. Okay, we are halfway through the list, just under halfway of the stream. So I'm gonna take a quick break and I'll be back in a few minutes. See you in a few. All right. The sound also went away for a sec because I quickly changed the mic. I plugged it into the other part, and let's hope it stops the cracking. That would be nice. It's a bit stupid though. I have like 2 hubs now floating in the air. But yeah. So far, so good. Hope everyone had some time to go to the toilet. And let me switch back. All right. So the next thing is the integrated Haskell platform, digitally induced. I'm quickly gonna share the link. And there we go. And it's apparently a new batteries included web framework. Long-term productivity and programmer happiness. But everything is written in Haskell. I have 0 experience in Haskell. So much to add to the list. Haskell, Go, Docker. There's so much to do. It's crazy. All right, I also plugged the audio of the browser. So let's see what they say. Just gonna quickly mute sound.
Let's get started right away. So we are going to create the blog project as described in the section creating your first project in the documentation.
Wait, this takes like 26 minutes. That's like half left of my stream. And I still have some stuff to see. What else is there here? I'm also gonna... So it has instant live reloading.
To get started,
and now of course my play button makes it so that the YouTube video starts. Typical. So it has instant live reloading. Thanks to the built-in dev server. That's pretty cool. HSX. Just like React's JSX. So you can write HTML code in your Haskell files. This will be transformed to actual type-checked Haskell code at compile time. That makes development a lot easier. I'm not sure if it's that clean. Accessible. So you have a dev environment under 5 minutes. And it uses the Nix package manager. Productivity and fun. Comes with everything you need to build great web applications out of the box. It's quite a bold statement. Does it come with a design for my app? But anyway, I get what they mean. You know, like everything you want to do programmatically is there, according to them. Type safe and reliable. So you have the most reliable technologies with Haskell and Nix. And it will never crash because of null pointer exceptions. If you like TypeScript, you will love IHP. It's so crazy to call it like that. Is it still cracking? No, it's fine. Must be me. No Haskell experience required. Code generators will help you to quickly build things even when you have no professional Haskell experience yet. pick up Haskell by building real-world applications. That's crazy. Well, actually, so it's like no code to teach you how to code. And you have a productive dev tooling. So to speed up your development process, it comes with a full set of web-based dev tools. Database schema designer, web-based code generator, web-based REPL. What's a REPL? Hello? It says real, but it's REPL. Anyway, I don't know. And it supports all major operating systems.
Let's get started right away. So we are going to create the blog project as described in the section creating your first project in the documentation. To get started, we use the PHP new command to generate the new blog project. Just takes a couple of seconds to generate all the files. And we can see the files have been generated over here. We can use the start script to start the built-in development server. This built-in development server actually also starts a Postgres server, so you don't have to manage that in your development environment for yourself. Over here, we can see the development tooling has been started already. At the left, we can see all the different tools we can use. This right now is the schema designer. There's a database exploration tool, REPL, CodeGen, logs, linting, and everything else. And yeah, at the top, we can actually click this one to open our application. So this is a start page. It's working. So that's already pretty good. And yeah, we want to build a blog page.
Would it be so bad if it wasn't working? I mean,
we want to build a blog. So for that, we need to first define our data structures. We are going to have a post table with a title and a body. So we can use the schema designer over here to create this table. We can click add table, enter the table name posts. We can see that the ID field has been auto-generated over here. And that's pretty nice. We can now click add column to add our title column, which is of course a text field. And we can just click create column. We do the same for the body field. It's also just a text field and has no special options over here. Nice. Now we have already defined our data structure. At the top, we can see that this is basically just the schema scroll file in the application folder. So let's quickly take a look at that file. And here we can see that the schema scroll is basically just a list of create table statements. And when we make changes to this file, like this, we can, when we reload the page, see that it's basically just editing the same thing. So when we now delete this column over here, it's also gone over in the text editor because it's actually just an editor on top of the text file over here. We can also use the toggle over here to switch to the code editor mode when we want to do that from the browser. So now we can use this to basically generate a first controller.
so it's actually like a Dreamweaver on steroids for Haskell.
We just right-click the post table, click on generate controller, and as you can see, this switches to the CodeGen module over here. And here we can already see a preview of all the files being generated. It's like the controller itself and some changes to other files and the views. And we can just click generate, and the controller has been generated. Now we can go back to the schema and right-click on our post table and click on open controller to actually open the controller. And now we get an error message that the database is outdated because, of course, the table is still missing in the database. We just edited the create. Basically, we just created the file with the migration in it, right? And now we have to apply this migration. Basically, we use the update DB button to actually apply our create table statement over here. So we click that button, and we can see the database has been updated successfully. Now we can just go back and reload the page, and we can see all our post controllers is available now. We can actually.
I'm really gonna do a stream on this. So I need to have 0 Haskell knowledge, and I should be able to build an app with that. You know what? We're gonna do that on Monday. I'm gonna do this on Monday. I'm gonna build an app in Haskell, which I've never written before, with IHP. I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be great. It's gonna be laughable. But if it's really this easy, Jesus.
Now let's change this over here, the index view. This looks a bit ugly, so let's make it display the title of the post. Just change it over here, and it has changed already. So that's already pretty nice. But right now, when we click create post, we can basically create empty posts and everything. So let's add some validation to that. For that, we are going to open the post controller over here. And we are going to add, inside this build post function, we are going to add a validate field, title non-empty. And now when we click create post, it basically tells us this field cannot be empty. So we can fill something in there. Let's also make.
That's actually crazy how simple that is in Haskell. That's nice.
The body.
Hurry. I'm not going to spoil anything anymore. We're going to do this on Monday. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to do this. That's going to be awesome. All right. so God. It's going to be so fun. If you have ideas for apps you want to build with IHP, or you want to see me build, well, we'll build it together. Let me know. That's going to be so funny. Next up, pods. I have no idea anymore what it was. Oh, right. So, Pods is a framework for WordPress, a content development framework. So it lets you create and extend content types. So you can just add all of these types. Let's quickly check. Check out pods.io. We'll do so in a minute. So you can clone it. Doesn't say much. Okay. Pods framework. Is this also going to take...
Hello and welcome to
videos.
Hello and welcome to the Pods framework introduction. Pods is a plugin that lets you create custom content types for WordPress, add custom fields, and actually that adds a lot more other functionality that are built into our API and into our components and other plugins that are related to Pods. I'm going to start out with a physician site. This one's going to be called a physician finder. So in this example, we're going to create a couple of content types. We can see here that we can create new custom post types, custom taxonomies, and custom settings pages. We also have the ability to extend one. So if a plugin added its own post type or taxonomy, we can extend those. Or if your code is registering them manually, you can do that. So you don't have to register everything within Pods. You can also extend media, users, and comments. So those are great things to be able to do. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a custom post type.
I just noticed that this video is from 2015. So it's 5 years old. But there's been recent development. Oh, okay. So it's up to date. That's cool. I'm just wondering, because if it's like super old.
For a physician. Okay, and as you can see here, this is the physician editor. You can see that I've added the pod. And let's go ahead and add a couple more. Let's say we need a locations pod. And here's location pod editor. We're going to go ahead and add a relationship field to physicians. And there's going to be multiple physicians, of course, because we will have multiple physicians at the same locations. So we're going to link to a post type physician. Multiple select because there's multiple. Going to do autocomplete so they're not big select list. And then we're going to go add another pod. And this one is going to be a taxonomy. And by default, we don't need to do much here. There's just another custom taxonomy, but we can actually enable custom fields for taxonomies. We just have to enable the table-based storage component within pods under components. But in this case, we're going to leave that there. And go back to physicians. And here we can go ahead and associate under the advanced options here for the physician pod editor. We're going to choose specialties as a built-in taxonomy. And this will allow a meta box to appear on a physician editor page. And that will have a selection for the specialty for the custom taxonomy. Locations is a post type, and there's not a meta box for post type. So let's go ahead and add a relationship field for the locations they may service. And let's go ahead and relate to the locations post type. As you can see here, you can relate to many other objects as well. We've got lots of built-in things for pods, and there's even more that you can add with a component for advanced relationships. So it's just locations. As you see here, there's a bidirectional field, and this is unique to pods because you can, once you create two relationship fields on opposite pods, it will see that you have a connection between the two and allow you to relate them. Once you've related them as a bidirectional relationship field, every time you save a physician, the location will be updated. Every time you update the location, the physician will be updated. So they're linked together every time you link them together. We'll see that in a minute. And let's save that now.
This is actually very interesting for people who cannot code, but want to add something in their WordPress.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to manage physicians now. And we'll go ahead and add one. Let's just say Dr. Clark. And Dr. Clark is a great doctor, we think. And we don't have any locations yet to choose from, so we're going to leave that there. And specialties, let's say that we don't have any specialties now, but we can add them since they're taxonomy. We'll go ahead and say back, brain, and spine. And there we go. Gonna hit save on that one. And we'll go back to locations now. Add a new one. And this, it'll just say this one is Mansfield. And Mansfield is a great location. And going to go ahead and type in Dr. Clark there, auto select, and save. So now when you go back to the physician for Dr. Clark, you'll see here that we have locations already set, Mansfield. And specialties, location, Mansfield. We have physicians already set. So it's just a quick, easy rundown of how you can use pods to create new content types, taxonomies. And as you see here under physicians, you'll see specialties, and you can manage those here as well. So lots of cool things to do with pods, and we hope that you'll continue to dive in deeper. We are always around in the Slack chat.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting for someone who cannot do content types by code. I thought it would be more, but Okay. So that was pods. Now, for something I thought was very cool, bat. So bat is actually a cat clone. So for your terminal, cat. And it has like syntax highlighting. That's super cool. And actually, we're gonna do this on the stream today, now. So you have syntax highlighting, Git integration. That's nice. Non-printable characters with a -A, capital A. Automatic paging. File concatenation. So you can just do bat and then whatever. You can also do piping to bat. That's cool. And it's a replacement for cat. Even use it for your find, your rib grab, which is actually the bad grab. Tail, and then you just push it to bat. Pipe it to bat, I should say it correctly. Same for Git. So basically everything, instead of cat, you just do it to pipe it to bat. Okay, installation. That's the most interesting part. Let me start my iTerm. I said iTerm. No. Cool. So I hope that's readable. Voilà. So, Ubuntu, Linux, Arch, macOS. Of course, it's brew. Brew install bat. Now we wait. That's also some of the things I hate about brew. It takes a while. Anyway, let it install. So you can actually customize. Use bat list themes to get a list of available themes for syntax highlighting. Call bat with the theme to dark option or set the bat theme environment variable. Okay. 8-bit themes, so you have different themes. Okay, so let's see. Bat. Is this the vlog? The blog? I think so. Yeah. Posts. Content, of course. Posts. ls. Let's take the index to start with. So that's pretty simple. Let's take another one. 2020 5. So this is with bat. Wait, I keep seeing the same thing, right? So things, and then it says skipping. Is this because I resized? You can see it actually does all of the highlighting. And on the left, you can see there's nothing happening. What else do we have that's interesting? It's Hugo, so I don't know from the top of my head where everything is. Oh, so let's do the config, which is a TOML file. Works beautifully. Actually, I already like it more than cat. So just do, this is cat. Do you see a difference, right? Much more readable. Gives you what file. Shows you the line numbers. Has some nice syntax highlighting. This is super. Anything else we can show? I have some PHP files, but let's see. Projects ls. Is there danger in showing you something from a client? Maybe. Because technically I shouldn't have. Oh, here, let's do index PHP. I think it's safe. It's not technically my project, I just did changes for it. I don't think anything weird is in index PHP. At least not that I remember. Okay. So this is PHP in bad. And it actually doesn't look too bad. Of course, it's now small. Let me just... Better. Can you then change? Like, no, it's pure read. Yeah, I think this is much nicer than cat. Let's see. If someone like tells you like quickly look at the file, this it's pretty hard to look at versus this. And especially if there are people like saying, hey, quickly look at line number 5. Like here it's like super clear. Number 5. No. So bad. I think it's pretty cool. Super cool. So what is in bat? Source. No idea what this is. RS. So it's Rust. Okay. Yeah, Rust, I don't know Rust, so I'm not gonna go in there. It's but they have Hacktoberfest stuff, so if you want to do something, they have quite a lot of issues apparently. But that's pretty cool. I'm happy I came across this one. And I think if I'm correctly, I haven't heard any crackling anymore. So it really is the hub that is messing up my mic. Now the thing is also, I have a MacBook, so it accepts USB-C, the mic is on USB-C, but I get a USB-C USB 3 adapter. And not the adapter, the cable. So it would have been nicer if it was USB-C to USB-C. Because then it's just straight plugging in, no hub required. And I think I have a cable left, so I could try that out. I'm gonna try it out for next stream. The only difference is everything is like in black, and the cable I have is white. But what? Doesn't matter much. All right, so next one is very interesting if you do a lot of Symfony, like I do. And that's Symfony Docker. Now, if you look, one of the contributors is Fabien himself. So the creator of Symfony worked on this himself. I'm not sure what he did or how much, but he worked on it. So it's a Docker-based installer and runtime for the Symfony web framework, which is nice, even though Symfony has its own dev environment built in. But then again, this one also auto-generates a TLS certificate, so that's nice. So it's production development and CI ready, automatic HTTPS, dev and prod, HTTP 2.3 and server push support, Vulkan enabled. I have no idea what that is. Vulkan. Brand new protocol using HTTP 2 server push to create fast and idiomatic client-driven REST APIs. That's cool. To do get block, and it preloads like the author, gets the fields. Grab what you need, burn the rest. That's actually pretty cool. But anyway, back to Docker. Just two services. So the FPM and the caddy server, and super readable configuration. That's actually very interesting. I might use this actually. I am going to use this. I'm going to use this for some stuff. Because actually I have, let me just grab it real quick. Symfony 5, the fast track. And I really want to do the exercises as well. So currently at my client, we're stuck on 3.7. I'm not 100% sure. And so I'm a bit behind. And with the book, I hopefully can upgrade much faster in knowledge. And then actually, I also have a voucher to do the exam. But we're not there yet. So what are the build options? So you can set your Symfony version. So it would automatically install Symfony 4.4. Using the following command to use the master branch of dev. So if you say dev, it uses master. And you can set a server name. Okay. Extra services. So it's extendable, which makes sense. It's Docker. The recipe will automatically modify the Docker file and the Docker compose. That's pretty cool. So you can add the RabbitMQ, MariaDB, So if you add the messenger for Symfony, it automatically adds the RabbitMQ. And for RM, it adds the MariaDB. That's pretty cool. Production. Oh, cool. So you even get the affiliate link to get $100 of free credit on DigitalOcean. So if you want that, go to the link in the chat. I didn't share it yet. My apologies. So voila. And then you get $100 free on DigitalOcean. So you set it up, you take a Docker on Ubuntu, basic plan, $5 a month. So that's 20 months. It's enough time to learn stuff. Keep your defaults for other settings or tweak them. And then you can SSH into it, configure the domain name. So this is Gandhi. Deploying. So you copy your project on server using git clone, SCP or any other tool, or use a deploy key, which makes much more sense. And then you just docker compose -f docker compose YAML -f docker compose prot YAML and up. And add the D for daemon so it stays on. Server is up and running, and a Let's Encrypt HTTPS certificate has been automatically generated. And then you can disable HTTPS if you don't want it. Actually pretty cool. Installing Xdebug. Super handy. So add a debug stage. This I can understand, but I don't know the details because I'm not fully aware of Docker. Then you add the Xdebug. You configure it. So you don't touch, of course, new compose debug stuff. And then you run it with compose and docker compose debug. So I guess the F loads like your config and you can select multiple. That's nice. And then when you run the exec on your docker compose, it should give you the PHP. If you do the PHP version, you should get with the Xdebug. That's nice. And then some troubleshooting stuff. Okay. So very interesting. And I'm actually gonna add it to my check. So I can do some testing with it. So it's super active, like 16 days ago, 9 days ago. Okay, that was docs, but still. So most of it is in the Docker file, I guess. So PHP version 7.4, caddy on 2.1.1. Then from PHP with this version, FPM Alpine is Symfony PHP. You run the APK and you add all of this. Arguments, yeah, APC version. I really need to get deeper into Docker files because I don't know everything that is being done here. Right, and this is what you said. Okay. And what does like a YAML file look like? Just saying that the amp environment is production. This one adds some extra Symfony version, stability, health checks, and then for your caddy. All right. I think if you want to use Docker with Symfony, then this is a good starting point. And seeing how many people contributed to it and seeing that it's like very interesting contributors. Like Stuff, Fab. These are all people who work a lot on Symfony itself. Is it under the Symfony? No, it's not under Symfony itself. And this is the creative API platform, so that's super cool. And he's part of the core team, so he definitely knows what he's doing. Yeah, cool, start. That's something I definitely want to use in the future. As soon as I know more about Docker as well. It's a bit my downfall. You know, there's so much to know when you work in like the web development, and there's so many directions you can go. And for now, most of the clients I did either provided something so I didn't have to, or it has built-in technologies like Hugo. You could just do Hugo server and it works. And most of the Symfony stuff, like at my clients, we have dev servers where we push to. Well, sync to, and it goes pretty fast, so it's not like it's annoying. So I'm not used to working with Docker stuff. But I have to. I have to check it out. So that was Symfony Docker. Next up is, and last one by the way, is also Symfony related. Because at this point it is my favorite framework to work with. And that is Symplify. So what it does is it adds a lot of extras you can use for PHP development. So it helps you with your coding standards, maintenance of your monorepo, change logs, cleans the kernel with flex loading methods, and it adds slim and reusable Symfony configs. All packages are in the packages directory. Here's a brief overview. So easy coding standards. So it uses the code sniffer or the PHP CS fixer, anything you like. Coding standards. And a standard tester. For Symfony, it adds the auto discovery. So you load entities, twig paths, and roots once for all. So instead of adding all your mappings, you do an auto discovery and you get project here. So this is in your app. Yeah, kernel. You do the same for the twig paths with the discover templates. Same with your translations. Same for your routing. So it means you don't have to add it inside your config. It just discovers it on its own. Interesting. The auto wire. So register your compiler class in your kernel. Auto wire the array parameters. That's it. And the flex loader. This thing I have not yet worked with flex because of the Symfony 3 dot, and it only started at 4. So keep your Symfony kernel clean. Just a second. So keep your Symfony kernel clean from boilerplate code. I don't know what English this is. It easier work with kernel, and you can easily separate your code from the flex code. So normally you get this apparently, which is whoa. And this is with the flex loader. That's much cleaner. I notice I'm not used to streaming this late because I'm getting pretty tired. Then he also has a stuff for package development. Let's have a look at some of this stuff. Machine readable text to a rich text that makes every programmer happy. Interesting. So it creates your changelog for you. What else? Oh, apologies. I'm not used to having it in front of me. This happens at least once every stream. It's crazy. So you have also monorepo, package builder, smart file system, rule doc generator, skipper, the kernel for Symplify, package scoper. And then for any developer, you have easy hydrator, easy testing. What's this one? Static dumper and a console color diff. Let's have a look at those. Testing made easy. trying to wrap my brain around it, but I'm just getting too tired. So you have some test extends test case. So you do your test. It gets a smart file info. Input and expected is the static fixture splitter split file info to input and expected. Then you do some service, change content by what you get, and you assert it's the same. So it works with fixtures, but I'm not seeing how exactly. Then you have the static dumper. Dump your Symfony app to HTML, CSS, and JSON. JavaScript only static website. So you can build a full website in Symfony and then do a static dumper. I'm trying to find a use case for it, because most of the things you build with Symfony are like applications. So why would you need a static website from Symfony? Honestly, I would like faster go for Hugo or something like that. Why would you do it with Symfony? I mean, it's an interesting use case, but what is the use case? So, but if you want to, this is it. And then you have a console color div. So if you build a command, you can add to the console color div and show a difference. That's basically it. Pretty simple. All right, and that was actually the last one. I forgot the music. So, conclusion. I'm not used to streaming this late, and I'm actually tired. Streaming in the Friday afternoons is much easier, but for the moment not doable. So we went through different tools and stuff that is like, we looked at, let's start at the beginning. We looked at some of the cool features of PHP8. We looked at Composer 2.0, which is very cool because it improves performance by like 60%. We looked at single sign-on SSH. We looked at the ksqlDB, which was pretty cool because it uses streams and you can do it asynchronous or with response request stuff. Then you have BubbleTea, which was a Go framework with the Elm architecture to build terminal apps, which was pretty cool. Then we had IHP with Haskell, which apparently you don't need to know Haskell for. And we're going to do that on Monday. So if you have ideas that you want to see built on stream, let me know. Then we looked at pods, which was interesting if you cannot code to add types in WordPress, post types. Then we looked at bat, which is a cat replacement with syntax highlighting, line numbering and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. We installed it. We had a look at it, it was cool. Cisco's is also falling asleep. I hope my stream is not that boring. I hope it's just because it's late. And after bat, we looked at Symfony Docker, built by someone in the Symfony core team to have Docker working with Symfony, which is pretty cool. And I might have a look at that one as well. And then last but not least, we had Symplify. Different kinds of plugins that you can use for working with either Symfony or some other stuff. Yeah, it's indeed pretty late, but we're rounding up. It's the end of the stream. I'm gonna call it. All of this will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can always rewatch it there. The comment section will have all of the links again. And in YouTube you will have those time stuff, so you can jump to a specific tool. And then Monday we'll do the IHPS stuff. That's gonna be so cool. Alright. I want to thank everyone who followed, who watched, chatted, showed support. Much appreciated. I know I'm still like in an early phase with these stuff. I'm hoping to up my content creation, both here, YouTube, the vlog, and then also on the blog, Twitter, stuff like that. And I'll see you all Monday for the next stream, starting at 9 CET, and it will last until 11 CET as well. So 2-hour stream, keeping it short to start. I'll see you then. Thank you. Have a great night. In the meantime, I'm also going to look for someone we can raid. Show at least a little bit of support. And I think I still have, yeah. Safari was still on this, so you would have directly heard everything. Okay, let me quickly find someone in science and technology. So normally it should be this. And I'll see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.